Joe and Jenn Fave. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. I'm the worst person at pronouncing names, but they're in kind of my old stomping ground down in Bradenton, Florida, which is a beautiful area, especially this time of year. You guys are like in the best spot in the country to be, where it's not cold and it's not hot. It's, it's like, what is it? Goldilocks. Everything is just right. But yeah, definitely some long-term investors. They've been full-time for the last couple of years, but they really specialize in, a part of the investing world that I really want them to talk about, but doing creative deals, right? And they, we were just talking before we got on here just a minute ago, but the industry is really moving in that direction where it's just getting harder and harder to do your traditional wholesale deals, and sellers are a little bit more savvy, and they're just looking for some different alternatives where they can get more money, and they don't want to sell their house for 50 cents on the dollar anymore, right? Not at all, but just it's getting a little more difficult. So one of the things that when I was investing for the last 22 years before we shut our wholesaling company down, was it's really great to have multiple sort of tools in your bat belt, right? Where you can tailor your offer to what the seller's situation is. So anyways, Joe and Jenn, thank you so much for jumping on today. I'm really excited for this. I've been looking forward to it all week, and yeah, I'm happy to have you on. Tell me a little bit about you and kind of how you got started, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, thanks so much, David. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled to be here. So we're a husband and wife couple who buys houses. We are originally from Rochester, New York, so upstate New York.
Yeah.
That's kind of where it all started.
Yeah.
It was 24 years ago, the year 2000, and I was at a friend's house who bought Ron LeGrand's course on wholesaling.
Wow.
And he never opened it. Like, he never touched it. And we were hanging out, and he already had it, like, for a while. And he just pulled it out of his closet where a whole bunch of us were hanging out. And I'm sitting there looking at it. I'm like, do you mind if I borrow this? Because he never opened it. It still had the cellophane wrapper on there. So I did. I did a deal. Like, a month later, I had my first deal under contract.
Holy smokes.
I just went to work. I was broke. I was 22 years old. I had bad credit. I had no money. So the title was like, make $3,000 in 30 days or whatever. And I'm like, sign me up for that. So I got a deal under contract. And the first deal I ever did, I did a double closing. And I bought it. I had it under contract for 25, sold it for a cash buyer for 40. By the time taxes and all that were taken, I walked away with a check a little over $12,000, which from me growing up kind of poor, and now I have a check for almost $13,000 in my checking account. That was the most money my account has ever seen when I was that age. So that's really what just kind of it hook, line, and sinker. I'm addicted to doing more of these now.
Man, so first off, one, you're really the first people I've talked to that didn't read Rich Dad Poor Dad first, which I tell people is I did, and it's the most cliche thing ever. So, well, bravo for you. You're the first people I've talked to that haven't done that. But man, you picked up this course, and within a month, you went out and took action and had a deal and made money. And $13,000 for those of you that weren't around in 2000 as adults, like that was what, like 6-9 months worth of what you would make that year. That was a lot of money.
It felt like it might as well had a few zeros after it, because I thought I hit the lotto.
Yeah.
And really, it was just I called the code enforcement for every town.
I
talked to the code enforcement officer and said, I'm looking to buy a house in this town. Do you have any that are like on your list of a problem? And all of them said, no, I can't help you. But one guy was like, yeah, I can. I have an owner who lives out of state. House is vacant. People are breaking into it. Kids are partying in the house. And I want to get this thing off my books.
Yeah, I'm tired of dropping by it.
Put me in contact with the owner. Next thing you know, the owner was thrilled because he was making a mortgage payment on a house that's been sitting there vacant. So we did the deal. The rest was history. I was so thrilled. I remember jumping for joy in the parking garage. Like, didn't even know where I parked my car. I was just so thrilled after closing. It was amazing.
Wow. Well, kudos to you for actually, you didn't even buy the course, but you recognized it, you picked it up, you read it and took action, which, my God, is what we try to all tell all of our students is if you just go out and do the thing, I promise you the thing works. Just trust the process. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's really what it was. And then I had a job at a car dealership. In 2006-07, I bought my own house in 2006. 2007, I'm seeing the market change a little bit. And then 2008, the market was starting to move in a different direction. And I met Jenn in 2008. She was a teacher. She didn't really have much background in real estate.
Yeah, I own my own house. He owns his own house, and we met in January. And then come like August, he's taking me to all these yucky houses. I'm like, what are we doing? You know, and there's some of them I walk.
Come on
Yeah,
now. See my real estate empire.
yeah. I walk in and I walk right back out. They smell terrible, right?
Yeah.
So we ended up buying a property, and that one took a little bit of time to fix it up. Ended up put in a renter, and all of a sudden we're landlords. And slowly but surely he would share this, you know, vision with me. One day I'm not going to be in the car business, you're not going to be a teacher, and we're going to work together full time. But like I kind of thought that would happen when we were, you know, 50, 60. I don't know. We kind of thought it had to take a long, long time. But when you get the right education, when you start doing the right methods, you can really make things happen rather quickly. So it was 2016 when this guy over here stumbled back into Ron LeGrand's world, and we realized that we couldn't keep going to banks to buy all of our properties. Eventually, the banks are going to cut you off. So we learned about the pretty house business, as Ron calls it.
Yeah, he was on like YouTube talking about how to buy these turnkey houses and that are, you know, little down, no credit needed, no banks needed, because we were burning, buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and we were doing that. We were finding these amazing deals, houses in the suburbs in upstate New York for 30, 40 grand. We were just trying to get one a year, but some years we'd even hit one because we were busy. Started a family, got married. Got married, then started the family. But that's what really was happening to us. So then when my friend at the bank we were refinancing out of one of our properties, and he says, at 10, we're going to cut you off. I felt a little defeated. I didn't know what to do. And then I just happened to stumble on YouTube. Here's Ron talking about buying these turnkey houses without bank and without credit. I was like, sign me up.
Well, Jen, let me ask you a question. So you're a teacher. What grade did you teach, by the way?
I was an English teacher, so I was certified 7th through 12th English. Absolutely loved it. The school was great, but I didn't love the commute. I didn't love not seeing him at all. Being in the car business, we just kind of almost not opposite schedules, but it was kind of like I woke up early and he had to work late, so it was just it was not really great.
When he starts telling you all this crazy stuff about real estate, and because here's the thing, one of my very best friends now, and she's our partner, when he started with me, they weren't married, and she was a teacher, a special ed teacher. And I remember sitting on a cruise with them saying, he's going to do this full time and it's going to be good. And like, so what was that conversation like to convince you, one, that real estate was a real thing, that you could make a lot of money? Because that's a big jump from, you know, sales. He's in sales, right? So he's a salesy guy, right? I get it. Chatty guy, but you're like, that's a completely different like universe.
Yeah, so it was a lot. It wasn't just one conversation. It was a lot of conversations. And he was doing the thing like you just mentioned earlier too. He was listening to Ron. So Ron accompanied us on many dates in the car. I'd hear Ron's voice talking on date night, and really just broadcasting his vision again. You know, if we do this, then, and kind of roping me into the business. You know, realizing I had to help because I love this guy. He's my best friend. He's working crazy hours at the dealership, and when we started building our portfolio, he literally couldn't do it by himself. And what kind of wife would I be, a partner, if I'm just, you know, sitting back, letting him handle everything, when really, you know, I was ready to get my hands dirty and help too. So even though I didn't know what the heck I was doing, we started with 5 rental properties, turned them all over into rent-to-owns. And when the phone calls stopped happening for the leaky, toilets and the shower problems and all of that, and we started getting our time back. And we were helping people own a house, which was so cool.
Fantastic, right? So let's talk about this, because this is, I went through this, like everybody who's married, who their spouse works with them, like it can be a challenge. There are some good days and challenging days. How did you guys kind of navigate all of that?
I think we still do.
Well, that's what it is. We found out what our natural abilities are. So I remember when I told Jen, I'm like, hey, here's how to fill out a purchase and sale agreement. And she's like, beat it. You do that part of it, right?
Well, because by then I had a lot of roles, and I realized if I keep saying yes, he keeps passing them off to me. And I was like, nope, not doing that one.
But then when it came to doing a million other things, it fit her better, right? So we just kind of found out like all the jobs that need to get done, who fit in what spot the best. And then we did that.
He loves talking, right? So talking to sellers, structuring deals, analyzing all of that, like that's right up his alley. But put me on Facebook marketing and, the back end, the bookkeeping, the organization, making sure our team members have everything they need now. So your role keeps evolving throughout the years, of course. But, it's a little bumpy in the beginning. You got to figure out whose butt is in the right seat.
Right. Well, that's really important. Whether your partner is your spouse or your partner is a different person, is making sure that you're playing to the strengths, and you're doing the things that you want to do, and then of course that your visions align, right? That you want the same thing long term. So no, that's fantastic. You guys sound like you have a great partnership. So Rochester, New York. Like I grew up in Boston, so I get it. It's cold. One of the coldest things I ever did was I went to see the Patriots play the Bills like 2 days after Christmas. It was, I bought these tickets online. I'm like, I'm on like the 46-yard line, 9 rows from the field for $50. This is fantastic.
Wow.
And then I went and I realized why they were $50. It was the coldest thing ever.
Yeah.
Well, that's
what. Let me guess who won.
Of course, it was back then. The Patriots were on a roll. It wasn't these days where Buffalo's doing pretty good.
Right, I know.
But back then,
the
I think Tom Brady owned a small portion of the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah. Those days are over. Listen, I was there with my son, and he was very excited at 8, 9, 10 to be a Brady fan, even living in Central Florida. And I did have to tell him, listen, this will end someday. This will not go forever. Like I know it feels like it's going to go forever, but it won't, and it didn't. And here we are. But anyways, so yeah. I can't imagine what made you want to leave Rochester, New York.
It was the weather. It was the gray. We realized once we went full time 4 years ago. Really, at this time we ended up going full time. We were inside all of the time because you literally can't go outside and work for more than like 3 months out of the year, and so you're just kind of stuck indoors and. It's really, I don't know.
Yeah, because what happened was it was 4 years ago today. 4 years ago today is when my job at the dealership, I was now head of finance for a pretty big dealer group. And when I went to work on the 12th, COVID was just starting to happen. Pretty bad. And so for us, they didn't know what was going on. So our dealership, my day off was Friday, and my owner called me and was like, hey, like, don't come in Saturday. We don't know what's going on. We're going to be told by the state we're going to close the dealerships for a few weeks, and then we'll have you come back then. So until then, just work from home and just do whatever. So in the beginning, 4 years ago today, I thought, well,
it was so cute. He'd go into the office and do his little car dealership, and I was like, oh, he's not going back. We just started on our social media marketing. The goal was in the fall. My son was going to go to kindergarten. I was going to bring my husband home full time.
There you go.
But I didn't even get the chance to do it myself because he didn't go back to work, and it all worked out really well. But I was like, this is it.
Yeah. So today's the day. Today is the day. It was the 13th of March, where it was my first day of not working at the dealership.
Yeah.
And so when we decided to go full time at that point, a few weeks after, actually,
it took a while for him to sink in.
Yeah, Jenn.
He didn't know it yet, but he was full time.
Yeah.
He's playing video games. I'm like, all right, we got some work to do here.
I thought playing Madden and Call of Duty for the next few weeks was going to be all of it, but no, we went to work is what we did, because we just were like, we don't know anything else to do but work. So we did, and it's March. It's upstate New York, so it's cold. It's freezing out. There's
everything
nothing to
was closed down, so we had that going for us.
Yeah, so we started doing some deals, and then we had a coach at that point who was awesome, and he says, Jen, if you're going to do this full time, you need to hire some help. So right after that meeting, I put a post on my Facebook, Jenn on Instagram, and we're like, our team's growing. We're looking to hire help. And for the next few months, we started getting some staff to help us, and we went from doing a deal a year to doing now a couple of deals every month. And that's in the beginning of a global pandemic. And that was where everything really changed for us. So our business kind of just started taking off. And we were doing deals virtually because with COVID happened, you couldn't go visit houses. And we were already doing a little bit of that, but that kind of forced us to. And guys, with these cell phones now, you could all the pictures and videos and get somebody else to do a walkthrough for you.
Never been easier.
It's never been easier. So we're buying now houses in our own town, but all around, and we're doing it virtually just by doing these virtual walkthroughs and pictures. And that was really the key for us. So we started doing deals around the Rochester area. We hit Buffalo, New York. Then we got one in Pennsylvania. And then we had a seller reach out to us and they say, I want to sell my house in North Pole, Alaska. And we started giggling at first. I thought, okay, I'm going to tell you, maybe not the smartest guy in the world, but I thought that's where Santa Claus lived. I didn't know that was like a city with like a military base and like all these people there. But we ended up getting that property under contract. We had a buyer in 3 days.
Wow.
It's a great deal.
Yeah, it was a great deal. So we found if we could do a deal there, we could do them anywhere. Then we went to try to do the nationwide model. That can be really difficult because now you're comping proproperties in the middle of the desert.
Well, it would have been easier if we knew David Old's.
Oh my gosh, it would have been a zillion times easier. Oh my gosh, I only wish we knew you back then. And then working from home, being self-employed, doing deals virtually. Jen, once again, I listened to my wife. She's like, I am not spending another winter in this house, just the four of us and this dog. Like, we need to do something. So we rented an Airbnb down here 2 years ago. And it was supposed to be for a month. We stayed for 3 months because she's like, I'm not going back to New York.
Selfishly, I've always wanted to live where there were palm trees. So
and I did too. So I met her a month later after meeting Jen. We're in Florida on a vacation together after dating for 30 days. So we always liked it here. We just thought we'd move here when we are retired.
Really old. Yeah. Now we're just sort of old.
No, we don't have to be old.
Yeah. That's, similar story for me. My parents had moved to Florida, to Delray Beach on the other side of the state. And I was still up there, and I would graduate at college, UMass. And I was thinking about staying with my buddies and getting an apartment. And the blizzard of 93 happened, which was, horrific. 4.5 foot of snow in one night. And I try to explain to people that have never lived in the snow. We had a triple wide driveway. So you know what that's like, Joe, right? Like, you're throwing snow.
Oh, yeah.
Direction. So because it was so much, a buddy of mine, I was 20, I don't even know, 22 at the time. So he came over, we're drinking all night. We'd go out with our little Toro electric blower, heavy like 3 inches. And, we did that all night to stay ahead of it. But man, when that was done and I moved to Florida, I told my friends, listen, don't die in the winter. Don't get married in the winter. Don't baptize your kids in the winter. Do not do anything that's going to require me to come back up here and to be in this, right? That gray sky that feels like it's 30 feet off the ground, the mucky snow. I'm like, I'm done. And I was off to Florida, and I lived there for 16 years. So fantastic.
Well, at least Boston has some really good food, so it gives you a reason to go back. Upstate New York, where we are, it's a little even colder, and we're right on the lake, so we get a ton of lake effect snow. So it was. I don't blame you one bit.
Yeah, no, it's that time. And so not only did I go to that game in Buffalo, but then I hung out in Niagara Falls for like 4 days, which again, the second dumbest thing I've ever done. Being there to see the falls, beautiful, but all snowed over and iced over. It was the coldest thing ever. It was not a smart move. So what changed? You moved to down to Florida, Bradenton. Like, business just keeps going, right? Because you're working virtual anyways.
Yeah, it definitely was a little crazy to do the move. And 45 days later, we're back down here, and we homeschool our kids. So definitely don't recommend all of that so quickly. It took a little while to get acclimated, to build a community, make friends with the kids, doctors, dentists, all the things that I thought would be a little easier. But yes, the team we had at the time was rather large, and we quickly realized that we didn't want that big of a team. We went to try out an office. We realized that wasn't really something that we wanted either. So it's taken a little bit of figuring out. And I think that's grace and the permission to give yourself, try things out as an entrepreneur. See what works best for you, because what works for one business owner might not work best for the other. You got to figure out what your goals are. Does it align with what you're trying to do? And for us, it's family first. And so being able to be home with the kids and have Joe here and be able to work together versus, a huge company where he's having to run to the office and man all the people. That was just something that didn't align.
Yeah. And everybody's different, right?
Yep.
Like, I don't love work from home because I would be on the couch with my 2 English bulldogs and they'd be snoring. We'd be watching Netflix. It'd be 3 p.m. I'd be out. And I'm just, I grew up in kind of retail stores in corporate America. So I like getting dressed and going to the place and seeing my people every day. Yeah. Doesn't mean it's right for everybody. Like, I see people having these fights on Instagram or Facebook. I'm like, dude, just run your business how you want to run it. If you like being remote, awesome. Obviously it works,
Well, I figured I would move to Florida, but now I'm sitting in an office and I'm not out in the sunshine. And I'm an outdoors person, so I hate being inside.
I see plenty of you guys post sitting by the pool. With your
we are working.
Yeah. I'm not saying you aren't working, but I see plenty of those posts. So
yeah.
But yeah, I love that you get to choose. You can do it. It's literally choose your own adventure. So you figure out what works well for you and your family, and you just do it.
And that's the amazing thing about real estate. It's just, I tell people it's the great equalizer, right? Whether you're, black, white, purple, tall, skinny, fat, short, whatever it is, like everybody can get so rich if you just follow the steps, right? And have a good coach, some people like you guys. And I definitely want to talk about that a little bit. But, if you just follow the steps and don't try to recreate the wheel, just find people that are really doing this business and do it like you guys at a very, very high level. Just do what they tell you to do. I mean, my God, it's not that complicated. Sure, there's some goofiness. People can be a little fun to deal with sometimes, but the steps are there, and people have sort of blazed that trail. So let's just jump into that. Let's talk about coaching. So you did all the things. You were in Rochester. You got married. You had kids. You're moving down to Bradenton. When did you decide to branch out and start helping other people?
Well, I think it really happened organically. And again, back in 2020, we started sharing more on Instagram and Facebook, just, because what else were we doing? We were going live and talking with other people. We started getting into a lot of like Zoom meetups because that's what you did. And just sharing what we were doing, people were like, take my money. Can you help me? I want to learn this. And so we literally just started set up like a little Calendly account, PayPal. And next thing you know, it grew into a one-on-one mentorship that we did. And we had some truly successful individuals. I think my teaching background really helped. I think Joe was trained a ton of salesmen and a lot of people in his industry. And then together, just the compassion to help others do what we were able to do, walk away from a full-time job or whatever their goals were. And that just continued to grow.
And I think too, it made our coaching program take off more was our client success. Like we have a tremendously high client success, and Jen and myself focus on having 100% client success. And I think the reason we're able to, really push for that is we actually found a way, and I think maybe Jen's teaching, but breaking this down to a step by step process on what to do. So like so many times a client would reach out and say, Joe, step 20 is how to fill out an agreement. And the way my brain works best, I need to know how to do step 20 before I do step number 1. Yeah. And I'm like, absolutely not. Like you do step 1 first, then you do step 2. And then right after 19 will be step 20. And you'll find out paperwork is really not that hard, but you got to do all the prior steps. So when you kind of break down this into a series of small little steps, that's what gets you to the finish line. And then if I could get you to do just one deal and just keep doing that same thing over and over again, right? There'll be some variables, I get it, but you do want through the whole thing. And after you do it, and most people are hands-on learners. You learn by doing it. And that's how we try to convince people is by getting them to do it. And once you do it, that's the gift.
Yeah, once you have that proof of concept, right, of the first time of, and that's, when we've trained people in our office for acquisitions or dispositions, that's the hardest thing is to get them to do that first one, because now they have proof of concept. And okay, I know you've told me about this, but it's actually a real thing, and I've experienced it. And then,
I kind of dial back. And when I did my first deal in 2000, there was no YouTube. Yeah, Google wasn't barely even a thing yet. I had 2 VCR tapes. I had like 6 audio cassette tapes and a book. And I'm not even the best reader in the world, guys. So I just listened to the tapes. I read the book, watched the VCR tape, but I took massive, messy action, as Jen always talks about, as I was just like, anybody that was like, hey, Dave, do you have a house you want? Yeah, like I just talked to everybody. Yeah. And I made it my point to put out there in any way I could back then what I was doing. So if now with what we do, and we're actually holding your hand through the process and all that, and there's YouTube and Google, all these things, there's no reason why you can't be successful doing this.
No, 100%, especially having people like you who have done it hundreds of times and are doing it on a daily basis and can answer those questions as they pop up. The things that, in between 19 and 20, like what happens when this happens? Oh, great, no problem. relax, reassuring, and here's the solution. And I think you guys might be the reason for your incredible success is that kind of dynamic duo of teacher and salesy guy, right? Like calm, cool, collected. I'm going to run through the steps, and yappy guy who loves to talk, and because I'm that guy too, right? We love doing that type of stuff. So that's fascinating. I do think that gives you guys definitely an edge with students, and you can communicate with them in a way that they like to communicate with other people, right? Because you have all the bases covered.
Mm-hmm. Well, especially because he was in finance and the numbers and everything made sense. So I'd be like, hold up, back up, explain, slow down. And most people need that. I mean, some people pick it up as quickly as he did, but I do feel like sometimes you get it a little bit quicker, and sometimes you need to just slow it down a little bit, and you just need to hear it said the right way. And I think that's why it's awesome that there are so many teachers out there. Just make sure you're following the ones that are doing the business and doing things the proper way.
Yeah, because unfortunately, there are a lot of people in this business that aren't the best people you should be following. It's like any business, right? Not just real estate. We're not trying to start no nonsense with anybody, but yeah, you should definitely be working with somebody who's actually doing the business today and not 20 years ago, because things do change just a little bit. So
I mean, it's almost by like the day, the week. I mean, this business can change so much. I think about like when rates started going up. Like I watched a dramatic business. I've watched a lot of folks get out of the business.
Yeah.
Right. Just because things have changed. And when you've been doing it for 24 years, you see the ebbs and flows, but the whole thing is just stick to it. If you just stick to it and be smart about how you do it. And that's why I've learned from so many coaches. And it's not just what a coach will teach you, but from their wins, but you also learn a lot from their losses, where they made mistakes. And those lessons to me are almost more valuable than the wins. Right. What not to do, right? That's huge.
Yeah, I said that a million times. Like, some of my biggest deals, I kind of, I'll say I lucked into them, but it was that experience of, getting beat in the face with a baseball bat, time and time again, where I'm like, oh, quit, dummy, quit saying that, say these things. And all of a sudden, magically, things start to work. And I agree, having coaches like you guys who, just see the world from, 40,000 foot instead of 10 foot off the ground, you can start like kind of like in our business too, right? You start to see these problems coming. You're like, oh, no problem. I got that. Right. Everything starts just happening in much slower motion, and, you get a little less panicky and have less anxiety. So I think that's fantastic. I'm always a big believer in coaching. It's, it certainly paved the way for everything that I did. And, I hear people say, oh, but everything's on YouTube. Well, sure. One, you don't know if it's worth a darn just because it's on YouTube. You don't, it's all mixed up like a deck of cards. Nothing's in any kind of systematic order that you can really follow. But even beyond that, like you can learn to play football on YouTube, but can you go out and actually get on the field and do it? No, you need a coach that could say, hey, here's where you need to adjust. Here's what you need to do. Here's what you're not seeing, right? Here's the things that weren't in that video.
Well, the other issue is there's so many people that, I mean, you can look great on the internet, but that doesn't mean you've ever done anything.
Right.
So finding somebody like what you mentioned earlier is key, is somebody who's currently in the business, currently doing deals, makes a huge impact. I'm a big believer of that. If I've talked to somebody who I want to bring on a coach and they said, yeah, the last deal I did was in 1986, like, I'm sure you were probably great back in 86, but what's that going to do now? So that's what I really focus on that.
Yeah, because the market is changing rapidly. That's the call I just had before this is, it's changing very quickly. The laws are changing. You want to be working nationwide. Every state is different. Every 3,500 counties are all just a little different. So, having that reassurance of somebody who's in the trenches every day is, it's really invaluable. And honestly, a very small price to pay for the amount of wealth that you can generate in real estate.
Well, and to prove that point is like, it's 2024. It's March 13th.
Yep.
In upstate New York, where I'm from, Monroe County in Rochester, house they're still selling for 50,000, 60,000 over asking. I saw somebody share a post that the house they lost the deal on because they got 130,000 over asking.
Oh, man.
Now, because when you're looking at a 2,000 square foot house that costs 200 grand, because it's really not that expensive for the housing there. If the rate goes from 4% to 7%, that doesn't change your payment that much.
Right.
However, in South Florida, where now the insurance has gone up, taxes have gone up, and now in the property sky high, here we're having houses do $100,000 price drops.
Yeah.
So when somebody's doing the clickbait stuff online, like how is markets crashing? Like not in upstate New York, it's not in Green Bay, Wisconsin, it's not right now. But places like in Florida, it is. So every place is regional. There's 3,500 counties, like you said, and everyone's going to be a little bit different.
Yeah, and yeah, I think I did a kind of a state of wholesaling the other day for somebody, but nationwide, housing prices are up 4%, which is a very good normal growth. We've got 3 months, 3.2 months supply nationwide of inventory. 5 to 6 months is a balanced market, so we're still in a very, very healthy market. And you've been around long enough. I tell people, dude, when I bought my first house, I had 7% interest, and I thought I was the freaking man. I'm like, who did I bamboozle? Literally, I was so happy to get a 7% interest rate. Like, what did I do to convince these people? And I get it. We just came out of 2, 3, 4% interest rates, but I don't think that's ever coming back again. I think if we get into the 5s and 6s, like, you should be buying as much stuff as you can. Just make sure that it cash flows.
Well, and that's why we love creative finance, because some of the deals that we're finding are still 2, 3%.
I love it.
Some of them are 0%, depending if it's a free and clear property. So that's why we fell in love with this business model, because if the market goes up or if it goes down, if banks are charging high rates or if they're not, it doesn't matter. You could still find these deals out there, and they're out there in abundance. I was reading this thing. It's like 60-something% of people who have a mortgage have an interest rate under 4%.
Wow.
Many don't want to leave that, but there's still some that need to, right? And if they need to, and I'm able to buy them and help them out and pay a good dollar for the house because I got a low rate and a low payment, and it cash flows and it's a nice house, like, those are deals.
Yeah.
They're out there.
Yeah, even though interest rates are low, I get it, and people aren't just arbitrarily selling to upgrade, but life is still happening, right? People are getting job transfers, they're getting married, they're getting divorced, people are passing away, like stuff is still happening. There's still movement in the market. 25 years ago, people were still having babies. So there's new people entering into the market all the time who need to have housing. So it's not like things have stopped, and I never understood the thing on social media where people want to come out and be the doom and gloom people. It really breaks my brain because I don't understand it. I guess
viewers.
I guess, man, but what are you hoping? Like, the 1 out of 10 times you can be right and say, "I told you so." Like, what a miserable way to go through life, right? It's easier to be just optimistic and look at things like, "Oh, hey, this is going to work." And I'm not saying be foolishly optimistic, but
No, you're right.
It drives me crazy, but no, there are tons and tons of opportunity in this market, and I'm just glad you guys are out there helping people to do it and figure it out, and and really help them build some portfolios, right? So for new students, what are some of the things you see as some of their biggest challenges that you can help them overcome?
So I think one of the big things, we have a few niches that isn't what we teach. I think one of our biggest niches is how we could generate off-market leads in abundance for free and without ever spending a dime. And I can target anywhere around the country, because if you do PPC or whatever you're going to do, mailer, it all costs money. Yeah. And one of the biggest ways real estate investors fail is either they just straight out quit, or a lot of times they just run out of cash, right? And I know when I first signed up with Ron LeGrand, not knocking him, I love him, huge fan, but he was like, you got to do yellow letters. You got to do direct mail. If you don't have leads coming in, you don't have a business. Well, it's a little over $1 a letter. You send out 4,000 letters, you get a 1.5% response rate. You're getting 50, 60 leads, which is great. But when we learned how to use Facebook and how to Facebook groups and how I could generate 50 leads, like one of our clients got 31 leads in that group today for free
in an hour
without spending a dime on marketing. So if I want to target Rochester, New York, Buffalo, New York, if I want to check Boston, Massachusetts, or wherever, I could just join Facebook groups there, make our posts that we talk about, and you'll get leads that day in abundance from them. So we generate leads for free. I think it's the big thing. And then once you get a lead, how do I know if it's a good deal or not?
Right.
So, and then sometimes the way we market, sometimes it works for a creative finance deal because they are open to seller financing. We just listen to their situation. But there's many times they turn into a wholesale deal. They can't take terms, but they're willing to give you a big discount. And as weird as Facebook sounds, we had a lady who reached out to us last year, her Her name's Jody. She reached out and says 900,000 and it's yours. I'm like, well, that's a lot of money for a house, but let's find out what's going on.
Right.
Well, it was a $1.8 million house on the water in Marco Island, Florida.
Whoa.
Which is like the 6th most affluent place in the whole country. But here she is responding to some Facebook thing.
Yeah.
And that was a comment. Most people see a comment, they wouldn't even message her. Well, we did. We gave the deal. A really nice deal. So
are you saying that's your new vacation home out on the island?
No, we wholesale that sucker.
No, that was definitely one for the books.
Yeah.
Learned a lot on that one.
Learned a lot of fun stuff. When your buyer doesn't show up the day of closing.
Oh, yeah.
But however, I did find a buyer that night, and I'm like, hey, I got a great deal. You just need $1 million by tomorrow morning. But I found somebody who actually did it, so it worked out well.
So not panicking and just going back and doing the steps.
No, both panicking and doing the steps.
Well, we were trying to move to Florida.
Yeah, but you can panic, but still, like, you're not going to, curl up in the fetal position. We have to find a way to get this done, right?
Yeah,
that was me. So I was like, no.
Well, what was happening was our seller was going to be using the funds to close her house like the next day or two, and then those people, she was buying their house, they were going to use the funds to buy their next property. So it was like a domino effect of deals happening that started with ours. And when I get a text message saying our buyer's on the way down and he's going to be signing, and then he missed the walkthrough, and then title company says, hey, he's not here. I'm like, what's going on? We tried calling him, and then, oh my gosh, it just all started coming unglued.
Yeah.
But we fixed it and made it and worked. And
we learned a lot, and definitely gives us the ability to pass the lessons on to other people.
Sure.
And just to circle back to your question, the one thing I see that a lot of people need is, and I use that analogy, is like as they're coming into us, it's every step of the way, like a staircase where you almost get in your head and you start questioning, am I doing the right thing? Should I write this deal up? Well, what will happen then? And so having the ability to have this community in our, we do small group coaching. So you're able to come to a live support call, talk about it live with us, and kind of go through the motions instead of sitting there scratching your head wondering all these things. Because when you're by yourself, then you probably aren't going to take that action if you don't know those next steps. But having live coaches who are there to say, yes, let's go. Like, those are the next steps. Like, I know you're nervous, but we got to do it. Take the action.
That's fascinating. So 2 things that the people told me. One was, the way our brains are wired is self-preservation, right? Don't go out of the cave. There's going to be a T-Rex there, right? Like, stay in the place that's going to be comfortable for you. So that's why it's sometimes hard to step out on that ledge or go take that leap of faith and do something different, because your brain is literally trying to protect you. And just, stay at the comfortable 9-to-5 job. It'll be okay, right? It's not like, it's just the way that we're wired. But the other thing is, when I do podcasts and I'm on the other side of this at the end, they always ask me like, well, what's one piece of advice you'll give? And I really tell people, like, listen, this is a great business, but if you're doing it by yourself, it's incredibly challenging and lonely, right? If you're sitting at your kitchen table, you got some podcasts or some recordings, and you're trying to do this business and you're hitting the wall, you feel like it's you against the world and nobody else is experiencing this. But when you can be a part of a community, right? And you have coaches and other clients and students and support groups and, kind of calls that you can jump on, like, that makes all the difference in the world, right? Because you see other people having that success and like, hey, if they're having that success, why am I not doing it, right? And now it becomes like you're running in a pack, and all of a sudden now you're running further, farther, faster because you're with a group of people.
Well, momentum breeds momentum.
It does.
Right. And I think if you're just at it, you're seeing other people being around it, they're in it with you, and all the support and things like that, that makes a huge difference. So I know when we do our small group coaching, a lot of the inspiration comes from our successful clients, and hearing clients listen to some other buddy, who just started the same time them, and they just closed their 3rd deal. Yeah. And if I haven't done a deal yet, I'm like, well, geez, they started right when I did, and they've already done 3. Yeah. I got to put this in gear, and it's not. Right. So I completely agree with that.
Yeah,
there's a fine line. We always say, like, put your blinders on. Obviously, like, it's not a race, not a competition, but at the same time, like, it's possible. And hustle season, not a lifestyle. Life happens. The beautiful thing about real estate is you can pick it up, you can pause for a little bit, you can turn it on. If you have the time and the energy, pour that gas on, and like, let's go.
Yeah. No, it's literally, you can have as much or as little as you want. It's amazing however much you want to put into it. And I get it. Not everybody wants to have an office with 30 people in it. Not everybody wants to have 100 houses, right? Some people just want to have 8 or 10 houses and, have enough money to retire and, and not be in that grind. Like, I get it. It's okay. Like, we all operate differently.
Yeah. And right now we're in the growing our team phase, but strategically. And I'm getting so passionate right now about the systems and the processes. And I'm really not that girl. Like, normally I'm like, oh, I hate those words. But, I see it as a leader now, my ability to bring and rise my team up. And, I just see them coming to their full potential. And that's such an awesome feeling too, to know that there's no stopping all of us if we just keep going, and to really be able to help so many more people.
Yeah, it's interesting evolution that we kind of go through from that hustle phase when you're just starting out to, as you grow and you have some team members and students, and your things change, right? Like, I thought KPIs and tracking anything was the dumbest thing ever, right? Because it was all just in my head. And when I was doing 4 deals a month, like, that's okay. When I was doing 30 deals a month, it was ludicrous, right? And I absolutely had to have those things. So, they're some of the things that I wish I'd have been better at in the beginning were bookkeeping and accounting and KPIs, things like that. And, I was able to kind of muscle my way through it and not have to have those. But, down the road, I, certainly paid the price, and it was very expensive to put all those things into place.
Yes.
Yeah. Important.
So cool. So I know I've held you guys up for a little longer than I promised, but like, tell me a little bit about all the different, I know you do a lot of coaching and lots of different things and different levels, right? So tell me about that, and then how people can get a hold of you.
Yeah, so the coaching is really, like I said, we have the small group coaching, and it's just whatever level you're at. We've got some people that have never done a deal, and they're just green peas, ready to learn. They want, like you said, they just want a house. One property is going to make a huge difference. And then we've got some who've been in real estate investing, but they have never done anything creative. So they love the idea of learning how to do the free marketing, but then also the spin on it, not having to offer just cash. There's all these different ways you can buy.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's neat too, is just we're helping people learn how to do this step by step. So sometimes you might be looking for, how do I get my first rental without using a bank? And now we have clients doing their first deal, which is awesome. And then you have people who are realtors even, or wholesalers or real estate investors who already own multiple properties. Maybe they want conventional, but they're looking for their next deal, and they're new to creative finance too. So when you come in, we start everybody at the same spot, which is like how to brand yourself, how to generate the leads for free in abundance, how to ask the right questions and find out which way this is going to go, how to write that deal up, how to find you guys to help close it, right? And the right attorney or title company, and how important that is. Because if you don't have the right attorney or title company and trying to figure this out on your own, it is a tough thing to do, believe me. So having the right help by your side is imperative. And then once again, you close that first deal, hurrah, now we get you back to the beginning and we're doing it again. And it's like an addictive thing. Yeah. And once you kind of do that one and you're like, oh my gosh. And one of our clients just shared in our Facebook, he just tagged us on Instagram like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. He got his first deal from this post that we do in a Facebook group, and got a $50,000 assignment fee for the deal, a cash deal. The seller would not take terms, but they gave him an offer for cash. He said yes, found a cash buyer, and he shows like the wiring. He's like, yep, 50,000 just hit my account. From a free Facebook lead, which these things are out there in abundance. And there's just so many people out there who need help and they have a real estate problem. There's a lot to be had. Yeah. Yeah, I took this marketing class one time when I was in Orlando, CFRI, and the guy took us outside and he's like, listen, if you stood on the top of this building with a slingshot and a pebble and you could shoot it in a half-mile radius, you're going to hit somebody who's losing sleep tonight over this property. Yeah. I do not think that because I may live in a world where everything is great and I don't have financial problems, like everybody's like that. That's not true, right? Life happens, death, divorce, taxes, job transfers, all of those things. And that's our job as investors, right? That's our deal. That's what we were put here for, is to help people solve their problems, right? We're here to help make things better, right? Not make them worse. But
I think so often people listen to mass media and I'm not the anti-media guy, but like you hear either things are all terrible or things are all great. And you're like, well, nobody would want to sell me their house. Nobody would want to sell me where I can make $50,000. And I'm here to tell you, because we close, 50 to 70 of these deals a week for investors all over the country. Like, it's happening. It's a real thing. And you just have to be out there, making the posts, sending out the marketing, doing the things, and, getting up the plate and taking swings. That's really all it is.
Even if you stink in the beginning, that's okay. You got to start somewhere.
But it's tuning out that noise. And I totally agree, because we also run sponsored ads. And if I just listen to all the people who comment about how horrible I am as a person because of their thoughts of investors, then I wouldn't be able to help anybody. But I don't listen to them. I listen to the people I have helped. And I share those stories for people who maybe haven't helped their first client yet, but it's coming.
Yeah. No, I think what you guys do is amazing. And I know you have a lot of successful clients and students because we help them close some of their deals. So that's how we know that you guys are legit and the real thing. And we close some of yours too. So
we love you guys. So you make it easier. So hence the name.
Yeah, it's it's always a challenge. Like I say, I have this handwritten, like lined paper that's on my wall that I've had it for years, and like it starts out, this is a simple business. It is people that make it complicated. It's people not wanting to show up or do it's a constant challenge that we face here, and we do everything we can to make these things go as smooth as possible. But what's the best way for people to reach out to you? Because I know you're gonna have a lot of people that they're gonna want to reach out and get into some coaching, or at least have a chat with you. And just before you even say that, one thing I meant to say before is I love that you teach people how to do this with no money down, right? Or not no money down, but not a huge marketing budget. Because when I started, I tell people, if this was the line for broke, we were here. Like, we were half of broke. We had no money. Like, we literally bootstrapped this from the ground up into a 9-figure business. Is 9-figure, yeah. And so I love that you guys do that and that you teach that. And it's not, well, great, sign up for my course and then let's sign up for 52 levels of software and all that kind of stuff.
Well, that's what happened.
It's all a distraction too. If you just don't go talk to people, then you're gonna do the bells, the whistles, the funnels and tunnels, and then not actually do the thing that's going to put money in your pocket, and that's just talking to people. Right.
That's it. 100%. I'm with you 1,000% on that. It is a big distraction, and somebody in family said, like, if you are Joe McCall, maybe if you find somebody who's an expert at their CRM, they're probably doing no deals, right? Because they're spending all their time worrying about stuff that doesn't move the needle. But
yes, we heard that too. Absolutely, I forget who said that, but if you're in your CRM, yeah.
Joe or Zach Childress, one of them guys, right? One of those guys. But what's Siri? That I keep cutting you off. I'm sorry, and I'm going to put this in the comments. What's the best way for people to reach out to you guys?
Yeah, you can certainly check out our website, creativefinanceplaybook.com. We've got all of our socials on there. We've got a great Facebook community. But if you want to talk directly,
call my cell phone. That's the easiest way. Call me or text me. It's my actual legit cell phone. It's 585.
Okay.
207 2240. So it's 585-207-2240. Call me, text me. That's my number.
You are the bravest guy ever.
Hey, you know what? Can I tell you, Gary and Susan Harper?
I do.
They take our PI test, and my B was like so far off the chart.
Gary was shocked. He'd never seen that.
Which is really connecting with people, and that's why we host meetups right here in Bradenton every month.
I know. I see all your guys' stuff.
So I love connecting and helping. So I talked to somebody today. He was 77. Wanted to get into financing, and we just gave him some direction, like, hey, go do all these things, and you'll get some business. So I'd love to help.
Awesome. Well, you're like, that's fantastic, and that really shows. I've never had anybody brave enough to put their cell phone number out there. So
my husband.
That's pretty cool. I was telling Stephanie that works for me the other day. I'm like, hey, I'm going to give you this phone, or my next assistant's going to get this phone because mine just feels like it absolutely never stops. So
yeah, it's always dead, probably.
It's dead frequently. So, well, guys, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. I always love chatting with you, and hopefully we're going to see you in a couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, we'll be there.
Awesome. It's going to be great. Well, again, thank you so much. CreativeFinancePlaybook.com. Right?
Yep, you got it.
You got it. Thank you so much for having us on, Dave.
So much fun.
All right, I'll talk to you guys soon.